Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kristie Pretti-Frontczak, and this Summertime Solutions pop-up Facebook group is really designed about getting to a change in practice, right? We always want somebody else to change, to do something with greater fidelity. We're all about implementation science. We want someone to drink our Kool-Aid, let's be honest, right? So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about this thing called resistance. As I travel around the country, people are like, yeah, but what about, and there's always somebody that's putting up some sort of resistance. And unfortunately, much of the resistance that we can control, maybe all of the resistance we can control, is only within ourselves. So I want to talk a little bit today about a podcast I did recently about 3 things that really can combat resistance, but it all relies upon our internal work around our superpowers. So if you haven't seen it yet, you want to download or access the podcast. It's at prekteachandplay.com/podcast number 22. So prekteachandplay.com/podcast 22. And that will be a longer story for any of you who want to hear a little bit more about this face of resistance. But today we're going to talk a little bit beyond what I shared in the podcast. For those of you who are ECE Solutionary members, all of this stuff and more will be in your show notes, which is in your members only library. If you're not yet a member, you can go to prekteachandplay.com/learn-more. And so anyway, let's get straight to it. Some of you know your superpowers. Some of you are new to learning your superpowers, but you need your superpowers when you're faced with resistance. So I want to break down 3 things. So we want to think about that we work and operate from a place of trust. And trust is sort of a hard thing because maybe things have happened in our lives, people have let us down. So we just tend not to trust the system. Me in particular, I'm always thinking the system is out to get me, right? So we really want to think about how do we build trust around us. And so one of the things I want to suggest is maybe looking, of course, inward first, right? Do you trust yourself in the process? And then kind of look to your right and kind of look to your left and see who are your allies? Who can you put your trust in? Maybe who can you take on the journey with you so that there is a greater amount of trust. And so that's one of our superpowers, is having trust. But really, it starts with trusting yourself. Several of you who are in this Facebook group said, I don't really have the confidence that I can deliver the things and the messages that I want. I really don't have confidence that my team members are going to step up to the plate. I don't have confidence that those that make decisions around me will make the right decision, right? So we have this lack of trust that others will do the things that we believe and know to be right. So where can you start to trust yourself a little bit more? Where can you begin to have a little bit more trust in the process? And what are you doing each day to kind of build that trust? So that's one of your superpowers. The second thing is working from a place of hope. I don't know. This one's hard for me, right? Sometimes I wake up and I try to avoid the news like the plague, but my Twitter feed is full of stuff that's going on. Somebody shares something on Facebook. I walk by somebody, in the airport that's got something on the TV, and I get it still, right? And I start to lose hope. I start to think we're just doomed, right? It's amazing that we made it this far or this long. And so that superpower of hope is one that's pretty hard for me. I struggle in having hope that people will make the right decisions, hope that we will actually be able to do things that help children thrive in life and in school and so forth and so on. So this idea of hope is, what can we do each day to have a little bit of hope? And again, maybe it's looking to your right, maybe it's looking to your left and seeing a little bit of hope somewhere, and then sort of nurturing that and growing that and thinking about, I'm so grateful for that one little bit of hope that I found today. So that's another superpower. That's your second one. So first was trust, second was hope. Both are super hard, but if we want people to change, if we want to get to change in practice, if you look at implementation science or fidelity of implementation, we don't really talk about these things like trust and hope, but they are necessary in the wiring of our brains and in the plasticity of our brains if we want that, if we want to see a change in our actual behaviors, in our abilities, in our actions, it really stems from having this trust and this hope. And then the third thing is really knowing what you have control over. And I personally like to control everything. But really, when it comes down to it, I barely have control over myself. And one of the biggest things I can have control over is my beliefs. So if I believe that I'm doomed, if I believed that our educational system is failing everyone, if I believe that decision makers are out to get me, which are all my beliefs, then I sort of create that sort of sense and that reality, and I look for it, if you will. And so one of the phrases that I've been trying to use in my work around, having hope and trying not to control everyone and force feed them the Kool-Aid is to say, for right now, or just right now, I may not have control over anything more than my beliefs. I may not have anything more than a little bit of hope for right now. And so that idea of being in the flow, I hate it when people say that, right? I'm like, where is it? I'm not in it. How did you get in the flow? And there's always that paradox. And so for me lately, I've been thinking about the paradox between patience and perseverance. And my good friend Lisa and I talked a little bit about this the other day. It's like, I want to be patient and wait for change, but I also want to persevere and make change. So how do I have kind of both? And both are actually a superpower, both patience and perseverance. And so as I was driving this morning, I thought, that's where the flow is, right? My dad always reminds me not to push the universe. And the way he does that is he tells me to move one feather at a time. And it's his way to remind me that I'm out to make the world drink my Kool-Aid. Okay, what do I have control over right now? My beliefs. What can I have some influence over? And what can't I control for right now? And so then when I have a little bit of patience and a little bit of perseverance, that's when I can actually find a way, a path, a step forward in terms of getting to a change in practice. When I keep thinking about the long term, when I think about full inclusion as a right, when I think about play and the powerfulness of it, and when I think about children not being exposed to stress and trauma, I can get really overwhelmed, right? I see very little hope. I don't trust that our communities will rise up and take on this challenge. And even when I work with adults, my hardest thing is apathy. I want them to love this and to want to be different and want to change. So I say, okay, what do I have control over right now? And that's my beliefs. And so my beliefs are going to be grounded in hope and trust. My beliefs are going to find that integration or that balance between patience and perseverance. And then I'm going to start to use my superpowers to have a little bit more influence. And then I can actually think about, how do I convey the message? How do I get more developmentally appropriate practices? How do I get more sensitivity to differences and to embrace our diversity and to love that? So that's my rambling for this Saturday afternoon. I'm so grateful for each of you revolutionaries who have joined me today. And I hope that, speaking of hope, that you find a little bit of hope in your own work. Wherever your little work takes place, know that it has a big impact. Sometimes we can't see it day to day, but if we have trust and that we know that we rely on one another, we can use communities like this little Facebook group to sort of bolster our superpowers and actually get to a change in practice, even when we face resistance, even when people say, yeah, but, or even when we are resisting something ourselves. I know that I am the number one person to be the first to resist. So if I can look to see what I'm resisting, and if I can truly understand that, and if I can trust in my abilities and my beliefs and know that I have control over those things, then I can move one more feather at a time and not try to push the universe as I try to get to a change in practice. So have a fabulous weekend. There are more resources on the prekteachandplay.com website, you can get all of the superpowers in the Essence Glossary package. You can download podcast 22, and there's an infographic, a little reminder, some beautiful photography from fellow revolutionary Erica that will maybe inspire you to work from a place of gratitude and hope today. And what else? Oh yeah, if you're an ECE Solutionary member, don't forget all of these will be in your show notes later today. And I just am grateful for each of you. So have a great day.